We're going to move on to another story. This one was fascinating. Okay. In West Ridge, Alderman Andre Vasquez has rejected a proposed dispensary operated by former Chicago police officers. Tell us the dynamics at play here. I'm having trouble kind of making sense out of, like, potential conflicts of interest. I haven't thought it through. Give us the implications here.
It's fascinating because we have long reported, you guys have done great reporting on this too, that since cannabis became legalized, most of the dispensary owners are white, right? White, wealthy Americans. The city and the state are trying to get more minority-owned businesses and dispensaries to move in. Well, guess what? This company's actually staffed 85% by Black Chicagoans. But they are former police officers, which is rubbing some people in the community wrong. And here's why. The argument from some opponents of a police officer-led organization opening a dispensary is police officers, through their jobs, they were just doing their jobs, were arresting people for this very thing 10 years ago. Those people that got arrested no longer can get a license to do it legally. They can't even work in dispensaries. So until that's solved, why would you let former police officers open up one even though they're arresting people? Now, again, a lot of people say, look, they were just doing their job. That's what they do. Now they're business owners and they want to do this. And they actually say, these owners say, look, we're bringing a unique perspective to this. A lot of us are Black and we're trying to be part of this minority growth of selling cannabis legally. But some neighbors are like, no, come on. I mean, they were putting people away for this. So I find that dynamic to be really interesting.
I do find it to be interesting. I don't want to get in trouble here, but I also think from the perspective of, in some cases, there are things that you do on the job that you just have to do as part of the job. So in some cases, maybe they were just following the job when they had to make some of these arrests. We don't know.
And the laws have changed
at the time.
Since then.
Yeah, at the time.
So it sounds like, John, based on what you said, it sounds like Alderman Vasquez rejected them not out of some kind of law per se that's on the books, but on principle.
Yes, and he took a lot of feedback, and they had a community meeting, and some neighbors were swayed by the former police officers' arguments. They were making a lot of the same points you were making, Tia, and I think that's a valuable point, right? We were doing our jobs. In fact, one of the officers, as part of the ownership group, has a child who is still in prison for marijuana possession.
Really?
So very personal to these police officers, and that's what some of them are trying to say. Like, we're going to bring a new perspective to this, and we're going to do things in a way that shows perhaps that there is a new face to what dispensary ownership can be. And to the other person's credit, Alderman Vasquez, he said, look, they were doing their jobs. He's not making a value judgment about whether they should have arrested people or not. They were following orders. But when you get a lot of people at these community meetings, right, and that's where people need to show up. If there's one lesson from all this, always be going to your community meetings and have the voice. Your voice is amplified when you are at a community meeting, because most people don't go to these things. And he heard from enough people, and he's putting the pause on it.
I do think, I didn't mean to interject there, but I do think that we do need to have a conversation at some point, though, about the fact, and not saying, this is on your shoulders, but about the fact, because we have heard that a lot of the owners of the dispensaries are not Black. Meanwhile, most Black or brown, for that fact, and most people that were impacted by that specific crime, were brown and Black people. And so how is it that they reap no benefit from having these dispensaries in some cases in their own communities? And so I do think there's a larger question of how is that being allowed, and who's approving these dispensaries to set up shop without making sure that that is considered in all of this?
Well, not only that, people that were arrested for it, they cannot open dispensaries. They can't even work in dispensaries now. So the people that were directly put in jail for this, for doing something that now is completely legal, can't even participate in the process. So there's been some strides made by the governor and the mayor, and a couple mayors now, to try and amp this up a little bit, to move this along. And that's why I think some neighbors are upset that they're not going to allow this dispensary to be open, because here you have a majority minority-owned company that's trying to do it.
Fascinating stories, all on Block Club Chicago. John Hanson, editor, thank you very much for running us through that.